This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Lyndsay Stafford Show, where we are featuring local legends in Middle Tennessee. And this was one I'm super excited about. I have my good friend Luke here. Luke owns the Now Massage in... I'm laughing because I just said it wrong the last time, and it's my fault, not his, but Belmead and in Franklin, and he's just getting started. I have so many great things to say about Luke. He is young. He's 26 years old. And when you hear him share his journey and just listen to him speak, it's truly unbelievable. He's definitely one of my favorite people to work with. And not just because I love the Now Massage, because we do love the massages at the Now. We are there at least once a month. But he's just an awesome person. So I'm super excited to have you. Luke, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you do?
Sure. Well, thank you for the kind introduction, Lyndsay. The feeling's mutual. I brag about you all the time to our clients and other business partners as well. You do such a great job.
Thank you.
You're such a community leader and do an excellent job with, the magazine and everything. So
thank you.
Kudos to you. And thanks for having me on. I've been
so happy to have you.
Very excited to do this. But yes, my name is Luke. I own the Now Massage. We have 2 locations, one in Franklin and one in Belmead, like you said. Coming up on 4 years in Franklin, I can't believe it. It's been quite the journey. We started the business back in 2020, prime time to start a high-touch business.
Pretty much the ideal time to start a massage business.
Exactly. Yeah. I never thought I'd be in the massage industry. I knew I'd wanted to be an entrepreneur as a kid and watched my dad as well start different companies and also lead some very large corporations as well. And I love telling the story and just providing some context in how all this came to
Please
be.
Do,
so
yeah.
I went to school in Chicago and graduated Loyola in 2020. Fall of 2019, I just started an internship in the world of finance. I was a young financial advisor. Internship turned into a full-time offer, and I was very excited, very optimistic about it. And then the pandemic happened, completely switched things up for us. Around the same time, though, coincidentally, my dad was thinking about taking a complete pivot away from the corporate world and starting a business. He was very interested in a franchise model. He had never done a franchise before, but we liked the idea of it, executing on essentially a pre-written playbook, and we looked at a lot of different concepts. So we went to what they call discovery days, where you fly out to different headquarters and meet the founders, evaluate the business opportunities. And that was a fun time for me to do that with him. We were flying everywhere. And I didn't know at the time what necessarily I was going to be in terms of if I was going to be his business partner, do some marketing consulting. He really liked the idea of me being a part of it to kind of fill the gaps of things like marketing and social media that maybe he wasn't as experienced in. My degree was actually in international business. I got a bachelor's of business administration with finance, marketing, and economics. As minors, I spent 2 years in Europe. So I really thought I was going to be doing banking in Madrid or something along those lines. Internationally, I really enjoyed my time in Europe. Came back, and of course, again, with the pandemic, the idea of going to Europe and everything was shot down pretty quick. And I remember one of the discovery days we did was in Los Angeles, and that was for the Now Massage. And I just remember looking at my dad and saying, this is it. I mean, the quality of the founders, Jason and Kara Post, and just the concept they had built was so incredible, so far above anything else that we saw. So we decided to go with the Now.
So you really were the one to push your dad.
Yes.
To choose the Now. And I have had the privilege of meeting and working with you both, but you really are the one running the show. I mean,
yes, all operations. I do everything operationally for the business, and I think that he's happy to give me the reins in that regard. Right, our roles have changed over time. He's always been a healthcare executive. That's part of why we're in the health and wellness space. Is that he saw the power of preventative and holistic medicine over for-profit approach to self-care and health. And he's still in large executive roles, companies, so he doesn't have the bandwidth to operate the business. I was happy to take over that responsibility and really make it my own. So it's been quite the journey, and
it's amazing.
Really enjoy it.
And you do such a great job. I want to know, with your background, because we've worked together for a while, so I know a lot about you, but your background in finance and international business, what made you choose? What were the things you were looking for when you were choosing a franchise? Because you obviously saw, how many would you say, more than 5 or 6 you went to?
It's about 5.
Yeah. And so
evaluated more, but in-person visits about 4 or 5.
So you looked at several. What were the things that you were looking for to choose a franchise to partner with?
I think there's a couple things. One is brand. In this day and age, brand is everything. You have to have a great brand presence. You also want to look at a company that knows what the direction they're headed in. Like the Now, we really built upon the foundation that a lot of our competitors had set. Massage Envy had started in 2002, surplus of massage therapists, not really a good business model for them to fit into. And they kind of kicked off that whole franchise massage model that everybody at this point is very familiar with. Then along came Elements, a lot of other concepts in between. And then Now was founded in 2015 in Los Angeles, 4 corporate locations there, and expanded into a franchise program. They partner with a lot of high-end magazines, their PR, the partnerships we did a partnership with Way, Summer Fridays, Rare Beauty, all of those that are just such a higher level. We're in Vogue. I mean, Angelino, LA Times, Garapos is chief creative officer and one of the founders. She's just has such an attention to detail and an eye for design that the space aesthetically is gorgeous, as you know. So, brand is a key factor. Just financial performance. At the end of the day, it is a business. We wanted something that was industry we could get behind, but also had a great pro forma. The FTD, which is the franchise disclosure document, is public information. That's where you can really get into the P&L and understand what the numbers are looking like. We felt great about margin, top line numbers that we could get from the business. So that was a big consideration. And then the quality of the founders. I think people overlook that, but that is who is steering the ship and who's, at the corporate level, this is their child. So want someone with a lot of business experience. Like I said, the Posts are the couple that founded the Now. They have other business ventures. It's a large operation. And so I think those are the three factors that led me to say, yes, this is it.
Makes sense. And you talk about brand. We can get into that later, but brand and the financials and the founders, like who you're doing business with, what the financial predictability of it is, and then the brand altogether. I want to talk a little bit about the Now period. I happen to be an avid Now goer. Yes. We're there every month, at least once a month. But you've taken this, or the Now, you and the organization has taken this model of a franchise where there's a membership model, but it's so elevated. It's unlike anything else that I've experienced. When you walk in, the smell in there. I have the candle in my bathroom at home too. I've told you that. I bought it there, but you hit it from all sides. It smells good. It feels good. It's beautiful. The people are fantastic. It's just an elevated experience. And when you walk in, and you can tell me if there's more that I'm missing here, but you walk in the room and it's like waves crashing. You feel like you're instantly transported to a vacation, which you can't get that anywhere on a regular basis, just going in somewhere for an hour.
It doesn't exist. You're exactly right. Every sense is stimulated when you walk into the boutique. You have, like you said, the jasmine coconut candle, the sound of the ocean waves, the healing touch of the massage therapist, of course. You really are transported to, we call it the oasis in the city, right? Everybody's fast paced, moving around all the time, stress. We just want to be a place where you can come, relax, reset, recharge. And the environment really lends itself to that atmosphere. It's very much like Tulum-inspired, Sonoran Desert, raw elements, the jute rugs, the cactus, the rawhide, the natural wood beams. It's all right on brand and lends itself to that relaxation.
Yeah, it's amazing. It makes me want to go. I was just there 3 days ago and I still want to go back now.
Right, almost time to come back.
I know. If you haven't checked out the Now, you got to go check it out and test it out. So we talked a little bit about what you wanted when you were looking for an organization. I want you to talk about working with family as something that is, can be controversial, can be challenging, can also be amazing. But you and your dad have figured this out. Talk to me about that.
Yes, I think it's really about just understanding how the relationship changes. Me doing this with him at basically starting 21, 22 years old, some growing pains there, right? You transition from that high school dynamic of, your parent is certainly your parent and the discipline, a chief of discipline there. And there's just a different dynamic when you transition to becoming, full adult, and now you're in a working relationship. And certainly at the beginning, there was some growing pains there, but now it's actually brought us closer. Love my dad, great relationship with him. It's, again, no problems. It's really the best we've ever been. We're very close.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from him. He has so much wisdom to impart on me, and I love bouncing ideas off of him. I feel like I can always go to him if I have questions or need a second opinion. And we like to have fun. We do a lot of things together outside of work. So football's a big passion of ours. We're avid Atlanta Falcons fans. Love going to games down there together, or watching the Bills on TV. He's from Buffalo, so that's his AFC team. But it's been a true blessing. I can't thank him enough for the opportunity, and the wisdom to help execute on it.
He's a great guy. For those of us that are parents, what advice would you give to parents? Because you have this amazing relationship with your dad where you guys have done this together, and he obviously has instilled a lot of great things in you. And, we can't even scratch the surface of who you are in this time we have together. But I've had the privilege of getting to know you for quite some time. And so I know a lot more than our listeners are going to be able to hear. But what advice would you give to parents out there raising kids that want them to be able to be entrepreneurial and strong like your dad has raised you?
Well, I'm not a parent myself. I can imagine some things, but I would say it's really giving them the freedom to explore their interests early on. I feel like I was blessed that I got to try so many different things. A good example is team sports. I probably did every team sport under the sun, and just the support from that, and just pursuing other interests of mine, and not necessarily trying to put them in a box. I think my dad always described his parents as, here's like the 4 career paths that you can do, or that we'd at least be behind you doing. He actually went to school to become a doctor. And right before he was about to start med school, he said, Dad, this is not what I want to do. And he completely pivoted. Wow. And he never wanted me to feel like that I had that box put around me. And I watched him in his career. I think the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I know that a lot of my interest in business came from him, and I'm appreciative of that. I was also blessed to have gone into university knowing exactly what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I think too many kids now go to university and have no direction, and it can be a very costly mistake. So I know you're describing with your kids, their decision to go or not to go to university, and it has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. So I would say, if you know that you need that higher degree to do what you want to do, go for it. But I think there's a lot of value now in taking a step back and saying, wait, maybe there's a different way. You can become an entrepreneur on your own. I think that's a big talking point right now in the education world.
Yeah. And I know the colleges don't want to talk about it, but
they're like hedge funds. These are for-profit enterprises, and they're incentivized to do so. So, but going back to what I was saying, it's just I was blessed that I knew what I wanted to do going into university, which is at least the broader degree of business.
Right.
And the degree I got was perfect for what I'm doing because I wear so many hats, whether that's finance, accounting, HR, marketing. I do it all. So I was fortunate to have exposure to all those avenues and have the support from my parents the entire way. Yeah,
it's amazing. Where it seems like, and your dad has owned businesses prior to this one?
Yes.
So you saw entrepreneur, but also employee, right? So both sides of things, and were given the freedom to kind of, hey, you make your own way and do what you want to do for you. It's a different space because there's so much out there, and I'm obviously older than you, but when I grew up, it was you went to college and, you took out student loans and then you got a job and you took forever to pay them back. And that's just those were the steps you took. And I fought that my whole, I don't want to do this. I went to school for 3 years at a very expensive private school and then was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I've given my kids the freedom of the choice of, well, let's talk about what you want to do and where's your heart leading you to go. And you never know what's going to be right for them, but internally what's right. So it's pretty neat that your dad's been able to lay that foundation for you, your parents.
Well, I watched him. I saw him get pretty jaded with the corporate world. That's part of the reason I'm sitting here today is because he said enough is enough. And I'm going to start a business, right? And while he still is in the corporate world, the ultimate goal would be, for this to be a long-term business for both of us, but, for me as well, way down the line. But, the problem is they retraded the deal. You used to be able to work for a company for 40 years, get your pension and ride off in the sunset. And it's just not like that anymore. You see with all the cuts going on right now, or even you kind of age out of a company and they'll cut you just for being older, right? So the promise and the guarantee isn't there anymore. And I think that the market's responded to it. You see people are very transactional in their jobs and they, they hop around jobs very quickly. People my age have very high expectations for pay and for, what they want in a career. And our generation has just taken a totally different approach to it. So I think you're seeing a lot of push towards entrepreneurship and kind of carving your own path.
You get that the time freedom is valued by your generation. I'm not that much older than you, but that is number one to me is time freedom. But time freedom has a whole different, especially going through the last few years with going through the pandemic, time freedom and flexibility and not having to be somewhere when somebody tells you to is worth so much more now than it was in the past, I feel. And being an entrepreneur is one of the ways that you can do that. I spent yesterday with some kids at the EIC over in Franklin, the Williamson County Entrepreneur Innovation Center. And all the kids I talked to, everyone that I was sitting with, helping them, they're starting businesses, they've got these ideas for a product to create. And it's really fun and you'd love it there. But they all said, I don't want somebody else to tell me when I have to work. I mean, these are high school kids that are saying, I know I don't have to live that life. I know I can go create something and own my time. Now you have taken it to a whole different level because at 26, you have Belmead and Franklin boutiques for the now, but there's so much more that's coming. And you just told me, and I hope I can say this, that you got 2 more in the works. And then the next thing out of your mouth was, I'm not stopping there. Right. So I want you to talk about what drives you and who you are and your projection.
Sure. It gets into a philosophy I've recently developed about business is that, especially in the entrepreneur space, there's so much noise. Once you get your initial concept off the ground, you start getting a lot of opportunities. You can get pulled in many different directions. Think of how many times a friend's like, hey, we should start this business, or, you get a more serious inquiry about another opportunity that might be in a completely different industry or something different basically than what you're doing. And, I really think that I've spent the last 4 years figuring out this business. Why would I go do something that has risk that is a completely different business model or something? So I say that because I'd rather do 6, 7, 8 plus locations of one business than try to have a whole portfolio of different concepts. People, there's that buzzword about like, oh, you need 7 streams of income. It's like, not necessarily. If you have a vehicle that's cash flowing, go all in on that. There's a book called The One Thing, and that really inspired me about putting all of your time, effort, and energy into one thing and seeing it through. I think far too many people dabble in something for 2-3 years. Maybe it doesn't work or it doesn't become as successful as they want, and then they quit and they pivot. Mm-hmm. So just knowing when to pivot versus knowing when to push through, I think is a very valuable skill in entrepreneurship. It wasn't always easy for me. It was very hard, probably first 18 months. We were in the pandemic, labor market was tight. We were in quite literally a touch business in probably the worst time ever to start that business. So could have thrown in the towel, but made it work. And now we're on the other side of that adversity, and it's amazing. But, I've learned that I'd rather continue to scale this business than to try to pivot and do something else. I want to keep pushing at, with the now and stick to what I know. So it's kind of my philosophy about that.
2020, you started the Now Boutique here in Franklin.
Yes, second location outside of Los Angeles.
For the entire organization.
Yes.
Second location in the middle of a global pandemic. I think you said you opened in when? When was it?
December of 2020.
Yeah, December.
So coming up on 4 years.
Yeah.
In Franklin.
What was the scariest part of the journey?
I'd say the scariest part was it wasn't getting open, because a lot of the setup in the background was, you're doing construction calls, you're doing all the background work, ordering items, FF&E, all of that. A lot of people actually had more bandwidth than usual, so that actually kind of expedited that process. It was, doors are open, now I got to start running payroll. Where's the revenue? Where are the people, right? Or even if I could fill the capacity, it was I only have 2, 3, maybe 4 massage therapists. Business model needs more than that to cash flow. The business itself was also different back then. I mean, I really had to look at the model and go, okay, this is great, but there's got to be a better way to build like the recurring cash flow, for example, through memberships. The membership model is something everybody's adapted, whether it's Apple Music or Netflix. You're building a recurring source of income for yourself, and we did that through memberships. And we always had a membership component, but I really pioneered the pricing strategy around that and said $10 delta between the non-member and member rate's not going to move the needle here. So we had increased that, raise prices, of course. We had to. Every business was passing cost on to the consumer. I implemented different compensation structure for my therapists, same day tips for them digitally, so they were getting paid every single day they work. Really taking an employee first approach to it. I mean, like you were talking about flexibility earlier, people really value that now. Just management style in general, pre-2020, post-2020, completely different. You have to approach those conversations in a very much more delicate manner and have more flexibility than ever before, because that's what people value in jobs. I mean, I almost treat my therapists like entrepreneurs because I don't micromanage them. I have a very relaxed management style, and the cutthroat dictatorship style of management no one responds to that.
No, it doesn't work. It's old school.
Exactly.
Gone. Those are the people that can't figure out how to adapt to now. It's interesting that, you're young. I'm 42. And when I was getting started your age, I was overseeing multiple stores at that point as a district manager when I was your age. And I remember thinking all of those things and looking around me and going, why does nobody else get it? Like, you can't talk to people this way. You can't do this. And that was for me as an employee, that was a hard thing for me to always feel like I was not in alignment with not with the goal, but the way to get there. It never felt right to me. Not never, but overall, that was how things were. 20 years ago, that's how people got things done.
Right.
And your style, I can tell you have amazing massage therapists because I've experienced multiple of them, and they want to work there. They love being there. They love being a part of it. And I think you kind of glossed over some things that are kind of a big deal, that you really impacted the pricing model and structure for the entire organization, and the same day pay and tipping, and the way that you've structured that is very unique, where someone who loves to do massage and is a massage therapist, they can come and really feel like they kind of have their own business working for you.
Exactly. And I highlight the benefits too. A lot of the people I interview, maybe they've worked for themselves or they're coming out of school, and massage schools definitely push the entrepreneurship route, which is fine, but there's pros and cons to each, right? I mean, they're very specialized, skilled labor. I have so much respect for what they do because it's a very hard job.
Yeah.
And, I tell them, like, you don't have to worry about sourcing your clients and spending all the money on product and running your own business, unless, of course, that is what you want to do. But you can work for me, you get a beautiful place to work, the highest quality clientele in the state of Tennessee, and all those perks and benefits that I mentioned. And, you get my full professional effort. I tell them a lot of these places are owned by people who don't even live in the state. I'm in here 6, sometimes 7 days a week, giving you my all, basically, and creating the best environment for you to work in, bringing in these clientele for you, and I'll treat you like an adult. It's unlimited time off, and people still end up taking about 2 weeks because they're not abusing it, because you're already giving them the flexibility up front. So I find a lot of value in that, and I didn't come immediately, but I learned that over time, and having hired many massage therapists at this point. So, they teach me as much as I teach them sometimes. So
spoken like a real leader, because that's what leadership is all about. It's not about managing is one thing and leading a team is another. And you do that very well. It's creating a culture too. Yeah.
Of camaraderie and mutual respect. And you continue to upgrade talent. The bad ones weed themselves out, and it all works out.
Everything, I couldn't agree more with everything that you're saying. I want you to talk about some of the benefits that you've found to choosing this path that is, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, there are so many great things about it. It does not come typically without long days, sleepless nights. You are going home. I'm not saying you. When you own a business or you are responsible for other people's livelihood, that's a responsibility that is with you all day, every day, that you are the one who has to make sure things are happening for all these people. And that's challenging. But on the flip side, there are so many rewards. And I'd love to hear from your perspective, what are some of your proudest moments and the best rewards for doing what you do?
Sure. I'll say I'm glad you brought that up about, being responsible for people's livelihoods. I take that responsibility incredibly seriously, and I always use that as a talking point to my friends who don't always quite get it. It's like I have, over 50 employees that I feel very much responsible for their livelihood. And, like I said, I don't take it lightly. But it's also a blessing too. And it never shuts off. It's 7 days a week, but you develop, I guess, like a tolerance for having to be on all the time. It's not, I would rather it be that type of exhausting than to be stuck somewhere that I don't want to be, working for someone I don't want to work for. So it's always a trade-off, right? Entrepreneurship is kind of how much stress that you can tolerate to a certain degree, and you get a thicker skin. The problems only get bigger, but you can look back and say something that used to stress me out really doesn't bother me anymore. So it's cool to see the progression. But in terms of the upside, there's a lot. I'd say time freedom is a big thing. I love that. If I want to go golf on a Friday afternoon, I can go do that. And I determine my own schedule. No day is the same. People ask me, what's your day-to-day like? I'm like, well, it really depends. Lately, it's been a lot of hiring. I do a lot of hiring, training. It's a people business at the end of the day. So that's a huge component of it. Could be having employee meetings, up front with the team, helping them work through issues that are very micro level, like, we can't get a member credit to apply to this service, or, we have a guest recovery, a guest issue, something like that. Or it can be very macro level. Like today, I'm looking at real estate, kind of looking forward in the future of how we're going to develop this business further. So getting to wear many different hats, no day's the same. I think that's probably the biggest upside for me. And then just kind of determining your own future. I have the stress maybe of the overall performance of the business, but I don't have to worry about, am I going to have my job in a year? Am I going to be able to get time off for this event that I'd like to go do? I'm going to Costa Rica this Thursday, so I can leave the country like that if I need to, or if I want to take a vacation. So a lot of flexibility, but also just being able to determine your life path and outcome, I think, is the biggest upside for me.
I didn't know you were going to Costa Rica. That's pretty cool. One of the things that I think happens, you talked a little bit about seeing the forest through the trees and looking ahead, right? Like that's
Right.
kind of what you're doing now, is looking at what's next. When you take the leap to jump into your own business, start your own business, start a franchise, whatever you want to call it, not report to somebody else. There's this desire to work towards something bigger when you're not going to see the same result today. You have to value the future more than you value this moment. It's kind of like deciding that you're going to get in good shape or get healthy or whatever you want to call it. Going to the gym, substituting salad for burgers, whatever it is. I still eat cheeseburgers all the time, but choosing...
It's better macros anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, thank you. Protein first. If you do that, if you make the decision to say, I'm willing to do these hard things today because I know it will pay off, that's what you have to hone in to as an entrepreneur. Because using that example, if I'm looking at, I don't really want to eat a salad. First of all, I'm not really a big salad person, but let's just use that as an example. I don't really want to eat a salad because I want this right now. And you do that every day, it becomes harder and harder and harder to make that change. But when you start it, and you're so young, you started this 22 years old, when you start it young and say, no, I'm going to make that sacrifice today, and I'm going to work those long hours so that I can take that trip to Costa Rica for a week or 10 days or however long you want to go for. And that's a decision you make to build your days like that. And I look at my son who's 14, who he's telling me his morning routine, and I'm like, dude, if half of the adults I talk to did half of what you do in the morning, they would be in a completely different place than they're in right now. Because this discipline that happens, some of it is nature and some of it is nurture, but you develop that at such a young age that I can't wait to see what you do going forward, because you have this ability to put first the future versus right now.
Yeah, I think it's understanding, trusting the process, trying to get just 1% better every day. It doesn't all have to be done at once, but it's looking ahead to the future and understanding what I have to do to get there, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. So you have to start now. And it can be hard, right? Delayed gratification is really against human nature. I've struggled with it plenty of times, but just trusting the process and knowing, I'm getting better every day, whether that is on business or in the gym or any aspect of life, really. It's having a healthy amount of kind of stress on your heels of knowing I need to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Not getting comfortable.
Don't want to get stuck, right? People ask me, what's your biggest fear in life? It's mediocrity. Mm-hmm. But you have to be the exception, you have to do exceptional things and kind of go against the grain in some regards. So yeah, choosing to live different and seeing the world through a different lens. But it sounds like your son is already on the right track, he's amazing, which is incredible. And everybody can do it. Mm-hmm. It's having the discipline and making the conscious choice and keeping that promise to yourself. I think a lot of people just aren't willing to do. So that's the differentiator.
Choosing the hard today.
Exactly.
Right. Not pushing the hard off till tomorrow. I want you to real quick tell me, what are the things that your morning routine consists of? What are some of the elements that are part of I know you have a morning routine, because there's no way that you're this successful without having a disciplined routine. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
I kind of structure it around how I work best. So, wake up in the morning, first thing is coffee. I know there's some people say don't do that, but I always like to get coffee, and I need to wake up first. And then I like to do a lot more kind of personal stuff. So, on the laptop in solitude, looking at numbers, getting ready for the day, kind of doing some more of the computer work, the less social or people facing tasks first, just to kind of set the tone for the day. And then I go normally to one of the two locations and take any meetings I have, and then spend the afternoon more with the people. Mm-hmm. There's different schools of thought, whether you should do the people stuff first or more of the kind of the deep work, as they call it. That works for me, but it's always, gym gets fit in there somewhere. I'm not one of those people that's like gym 8 a.m. every single day. Sometimes I go at 2 in the afternoon. Sometimes I go at 10 o'clock at night. It just depends. And then again, grateful for that flexibility, or else I wouldn't be able to do that.
Also, you have no kids, so.
Yep, no kids. So, yeah, and like I said, no day is the same. So morning routine can kind of change day to day, but typically it's a slower morning that I'm grateful to have that time to just kind of warm up for the day, understand what I'm going to have to tackle, any prep work I need to do. I think preparation for things is what makes the day a lot easier than if you're scrambling, unprepared for whatever you have to do.
You get up at a certain time?
I don't get up super early. I normally get up around 7 o'clock, 7:30.
Do you stay up late? Or are you?
Not as late as I used to. I'm getting better about going to bed early and trying to keep a routine, but maybe like 11:30.
Yeah, that's not bad. So you're getting a good amount of sleep.
Yeah. Sleep, I can't function without sleep. That is one thing I cannot compromise on. One, just with athletic recovery. I mean, my body, sometimes I feel like I get hit by a freight train.
From all the massages you're getting?
No, from... Right. I don't know how I could do it without getting massages as part of recovery.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't compromise on my sleep. So I try to get at least 8 hours a day.
So that's your non-negotiable is your sleep.
Yeah. I won't function without it.
It's so underrated, I think. I mean, we all know you should be sleeping more, but not you. People should be sleeping more. But it's like functioning on 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep is like, that's not celebratory.
No, it's not celebratory, and I don't know how some people do it.
I don't either.
Generally, I think there's certain people that require less sleep. I'm certainly not one of those people. I'm on the needs more sleep to function side of the aisle, but that's also a blessing, though, that I can catch up on sleep if I need to. And, working for myself, I set my own schedule, but if I do have meetings with corporate in Los Angeles, they're on Pacific time, so I get a 2-hour head start. So there's typically not anything before 10 a.m. From a corporate side of things, which is nice too. So
you have that time. And your morning routine doesn't start with opening social media, opening email, having everything come at you, which is what most people do. Yes. They open their phone and they let everybody else's priorities come at them.
Correct. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think especially when you first wake up, your brain's still with those beta waves. You're very susceptible to, things like opening up social media and just absorbing all of that negativity and chaos. So try to leave the phone off for the first little bit of the day and at least get, 30 minutes in before I check anything. I do have a lot of employees text me early because of if they're calling out or whatever, but I've structured it to where inform me, but I don't necessarily have to be the decision maker.
Right.
I have, management that can implement those changes if needed. So I normally do wake up to a lot of text messages, but I try to at least prioritize some me time before attacking the day.
Yeah. Do you keep your phone on Do Not Disturb?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I have it set too, there's a work setting. So when I'm in the office or at the boutique rather, it only filters through certain types of communications and leave notifications off for social media too.
Oh, if anyone has their social media notifications on, I don't know how you survive. Like I literally don't know how you get anything done. My phone is on Do Not Disturb or work mode. I've got the same filter, certain people.
Right. I think I get like 400 plus notifications a day on average. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I just want to.
You can't have those on.
Yeah.
How do you get anything done? And I think that's it's the small things that change the result of what you're doing when you decide to have those filters and those non-negotiables. I'm going to get sleep. I'm not going to let somebody not let things come at me in the morning. I'm going to protect my headspace for the morning. And actually, my son, Ben, said something the other day. He said, Mom, I don't touch my phone for the first hour of the day.
Yeah,
and this is a 14-year-old saying that. Like he's decided, and I don't either, except I text my dad because we work out together and my assistant, and that's it. And then it's nothing. So I love that you can share that testimony for, because you've grown up in a different generation than I have, where you've had phones. I had a pager in high school. Like we did not have cell phones.
I think I was, born at the perfect time where I got the advantage of technology, but it wasn't born in my hands. I mean, I think smartphones started getting going, like first iPhone, maybe
08.
From 08. So, 5th or 6th grade for me. Mm-hmm. So I got that amazing time as child playing outside, no screens, good for, development, of course. And then when it became time to actually need tools, in early high school, back when technology was still more of a tool, now social media and everything has just evolved into, a whole different beast of ways to make money and everything, and the advertising and all of that's become a commodity more than just a place to share pictures of your pets or whatever. But
has to be filters.
Exactly.
Gotta have filters
to
on it.
protect your headspace and your peace and block a lot of that noise, because that makes you perform better, which honestly helps everybody else around you. So
right. It's hard to just
aligned.
be present when it's not there. Are you hiring?
I am hiring.
Okay.
Yep. Massage therapist for Belle Mead, and I'm also looking for front desk as well.
Okay.
I would say I'm fortunately in a position in Franklin where I have very limited shifts left to offer people. So I've had some conversations recently, very brief part-time work. Maybe I slot you in on a weekend day, Sunday, Saturday shifts, but Monday through Friday is pretty much booked. So we're in a great spot there.
Yeah. And if you haven't been to the Now, you got to check them out. The whole experience is unbelievable. It is it's our favorite date night of the entire month. I mean, you're located right in downtown Franklin. You can go get a massage and then walk down and get something to drink or cocktail or burger or whatever, or salad if you're trying to be
You
good.
make a whole day out of it.
You do. You can make a whole day out of it. Yeah. It's our favorite. So I want to close with one thing. You can be such an inspiration to so many people for a lot of reasons, Luke, but to be able to accomplish what you've accomplished at this young of an age, I wish I had half of that at 26. What advice would you give somebody who's wanting to follow in your footsteps, but doesn't really know where to start?
I would say don't feel like the stars have to align and everything has to be perfect before you start. Perfection can be a real impediment to any sort of progress, and people can get frozen. So just take the steps now, a little bit of action every single day. If you're in a job and want to become an entrepreneur, of course, don't just quit your job and jump ship. You need to have a plan of action. But, a lot of people, I think, make excuses about how much time they have. If you're a 9-to-5 weekend warrior, use your weekends, use the 5 to 9 slot to start pursuing your dreams, and then make the transition when it feels right. But just starting, right? Just action is going to, trump any sort of manifestation or any daydreaming about what you want to do. So just start and reach out to your network. There's always people willing to help you, really hone in on your interests and your skill sets and leverage that.
Awesome. Start now. I really use the 5 to 9 if you're working the 9 to 5.
Exactly.
And work on the weekends, and it can all be done. You're such a pleasure to be around and to work with and to have you here. So thank you for joining us today. And you'll have to come back again because I know you're going to have more adventures to talk to us about. But thanks for being here today, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.